Hello, and welcome to one more session where we're having a discussion on our ongoing vintage fund offer. So, as part of our endeavor to bring to you some insights from the distribution fraternity on some of the opportunities in today's market circumstances. Today, also, we have a very eminent panel to discuss on the state of markets today और इस markets में क्या ऐसी अपॉर्चुनिटी है जिसका हम फायदा उठा सकते हैं आगे चलते हुए और कौन से फंड्स हैं जो इन जो अपॉर्चुनिटीज की हम बात करेंगे इसमें पार्टिसिपेट कर सकते हैं डिस्कस दिस वी हैव विद अस टुडे मिस्टर राजेश कुमार सुदानी of Sudani Capital, a veteran in the industry, almost 3 decades plus of experience in the financial services industry, equity broking, equity advisory, and also the mutual fund distribution space. Somebody who is very popular through his social media platforms. In fact, he runs a very popular YouTube channel, which has a lot of following, where he discusses a lot of uh, things in terms of the investments and guides people from a long-term wealth creation perspective. Welcome, Rajesh sir. We also have with us Mr. Bhushan Wani, again somebody with multiple decades of experience guiding investors and helping them achieve their long-term goals. Somebody who's again quite popular in the social media platforms and he's achieved a lot of scale through referrals from his existing investors, which speaks volumes about his relationship and the overall help which is rendered to the investors to get to their long-term goals. And the third panelist for us today is Mr. Subir Jha of Buckspeak. So Subir started his career as a banker and today is running a boutique outfit, managing Chennai clients with a lot of customized, tailor-made kind of solutions for them. Subir is quite popular with a lot of business channels. Most of us would have seen him in the business channels as expert in the export shows. So once again, welcome to all three of you. A great pleasure having all three of you on the panel today, and we look forward to a very engaging session. So let me start with you, Rajesh sir, first. Try and get an understanding because today where we stand from a market perspective, खास करके हम इक्विटी की अगर बात करें तो एक तरह से बोल सकते हैं क्रॉस रोड जैसे सेगमेंट में है हम लोग मार्केट में कि ऑन वन हैंड वी हैव a bit of worry coming in. Global markets especially are going in a bit of a turmoil kind of period because US Fed as indicated interest rates shift जल्दी दिखने वाला है हमको आगे जाते हुए. लिक्विडिटी भी शायद इतना इजी नहीं होगा जो पहले कुछ सालों से मिल रहा था. So given that kind of a backdrop, do you think this will lead to a slower growth from a global perspective? If so, would that impact the recovery, which was quite nascent as far as India is concerned? So if you can share your insights on these two aspects.
Thank you very much for a very valid questions. Basically, if we see global market, crude oil and interest rate rising trend will be seen very clearly on the chart. मेरी नजर में क्रूड ऑयल बहुत जल्दी $100 and $110 हो जाएगा. Very next days, Ukraine and Russia is also going to meet, and their disputes is also going to be in a wide range. In the same way, interest rate USA में 2022 में कंजर्वेटिव 50 पैसे से 75 पैसे बेसिक्स पॉइंट बढ़ जाएगा. That's my personal view. लेकिन इसके साथ में अगर हम ग्रोथ की बात भी करते हैं 2006 to 2008 we have seen in the timing of rising interest rate also market give very fantastic returns. In as far as India is concerned, if we look at India, local consumption is going to be ahead due to lockdown. All the things for already you can say lockdown, but now everything is going open up. People are ready to spend, government is also ready to spend. As far as this bull run is concerned, I think 60% bull run has been over. Rest 40% is pending till 2024. I am very bullish in market for the next 18 to 20 months. And after all the odd scenes, interest rate rising, crude oil rising, India growth story will be continue due to local consumption. अब देखिए कि सरकार ने भी एक चीज समझ ली है, इलेक्शन होने के बावजूद सरकार ने कुछ भी ऐसे नहीं बांटा जो बांटना की उम्मीद थी लोगों को। सरकार का एक ही फोकस है, ग्रोथ मेंटेन रहे, ग्रोथ मेंटेन रहे। इसी कारण अगर रियल इस्टेट्स पे, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे कोई भी सरकार खर्चा करती है तो रियल इस्टेट और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर 150 सेक्टर्स को रोजगार देते हैं। तो गवर्नमेंट इज टोटली कंसिडरिंग अबाउट गिविंग एम्प्लॉयमेंट, स्पेंडिंग। तो कुछ भी कहीं दिक्कत की बात नहीं है। कंसर्न्स है शॉर्ट टर्म्स में, यूक्रेन और रशिया विवाद, ड्यू टू दैट ये अपना आप समझे कि डॉलर का अपना क्रूड का रेट बढ़ना है, एंड उसके साथ में इंटरेस्ट रेट राइजिंग। बट ओवरऑल वी आर इन ए कंफर्टेबल जोन। इंडिया के अंदर अभी तेजी पेंडिंग है, क्योंकि चाइना से काफी चीज शिफ्ट हो रही है, इंडिया में कोई दिक्कत नहीं लग रही।
थैंक्स राजेश सर, काफी अच्छी इंसाइट्स आपने शेयर की। तो ग्लोबल मार्केट्स, यस आई थिंक आपने भी दोहराया कि वॉलेटाइल रहेगा आगे चलते हुए, पॉसिबिलिटी ज्यादा है वॉलेटाइल रहने की। But Indian growth, which was obviously picking up, is likely to be reasonably good even going forward. So let me take the question forward to Bhushan sir. Get your views on this. What do you think are the key drivers for Indian economy? Some part of it, did it seem budget itself? In the sense, the government, as Rajesh sir rightly mentioned, there's a lot of continuity in terms of the growth impetus which they started last year. So even this year, CapEx spends have been reasonably good. There has been a bigger focus. The expenditure in terms of the subsidies and all was not increased much. So they have actually focused quite a bit on CapEx even going forward. So you could say a kind of medium-term plan has been rolled out in the budget. So given all this, what do you make of Indian economy, and what are the key elements which you think can drive the markets?
So again, as Rajesh sir said, it is a very good question from your end. So my say is like earnings are coming back after long time of period. It may be we had not seen since last 8 to 10 years. The down cycle was there in the earnings from the corporate. So there are certain green shoots which are coming back. Okay. So in my opinion, this earning will give the better momentum to the market in coming year of period. Okay. May not be in short period, but in the longer duration, as our fundamentals are very strong, we are going to come back as holistic as an economy, irrespective of the government, as our government is taking step day in, day out regarding the economy, and it will definitely give the boost. That is first. Second, in terms of domestic recovery, as again Rajesh sir said, there is a huge consumption story which is there for India. There is a demographic dividend which is going to alight for our growth story, and in coming year of period we are going to get that demographic dividend. That is second. Third, capex cycle. The capex cycle, as the current budget we had seen, they had increased the budget allocation from 5.5 lakh crore to 7.5 lakh crore. So this capex will definitely boost the Indian economy in shorter period of period as well as in the longer duration. And job creation will definitely happen through this capex cycle. In my opinion, real estate will be the main key booster when it comes to the economy as well as the job creation. That is third. देन एक्सपोर्ट के लिए अगर हम बात करना चाहेंगे तो मेरे हिसाब से चाइना प्लस ये जो फैक्टर है ये बहुत अच्छा इम्पैक्ट करेगा। ऐसा नहीं है कि चाइना में सब शटडाउन होगा और वो पूरा इंडिया को पास ऑन होगा, बट ग्रेजुअली द स्टोरी विल कंटिन्यू। सम पोर्शन ऑफ चाइना will get distributed to other emerging market, and India will lead into that. That is fourth. And then we can think the early credit growth. Banks were really finding for the quality credit, and they are getting those quality credit after long period of time. NPAs are getting lower and lower day by day. So my opinion, this will also give the best growth for Indian economy. So in nutshell, to revival, my say is India is on standstill, that India is born to grow, India will grow. Maybe short term there will be an volatility, it can pass to the market in the shorter period, but retail investor need not to be panic. They don't have to press that panic button, continue with their investment in the longer duration, and they will definitely get that financial freedom through mutual fund, through Nippon asset management. the point they are looking for their financial growth.
Sure. Thanks, Bhushan sir. Again, very important point. So probably after almost a decade, we are seeing a combination of factors coming together from an Indian context. So be it the capex itself, push happening from the government side, which has been there for quite a few years now, but probably the scale has increased quite a bit. But more importantly, as you rightly highlighted, the private sector capex coming back today, that's another big push. And the urban consumption, as of now, seems to be in a good space. Rural, obviously, we expect will do a bit of catch up as it recovers from the pandemic. So these are very important points from an Indian market perspective. Earnings growth obviously is the key driver for markets anyways, and it should be very supportive. Subir, I have a bit tough question for you actually. I need you to play the devil's advocate here and basically try to put things in the right balance. Obviously, there are a lot of positives which as we can count. But what are one or two things which we need to be a little careful of? Something investors and all of us in the industry need to be tracking quite regularly to get a better sense, and accordingly maybe recalibrate or moderate the expectations one would have from a near to medium term kind of perspective. What are some of the key risks, or in the sense you are saying challenges which you see, given all the backdrop, all this optimistic outlook which we have today?
Yeah. Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you for anointing me the party pooper on this panel. I think both Rajesh and Bhushan sir have really enlisted the positive long-term stories behind India's success, and I think there's no debate on that. Having said that, we all on this panel would agree that we have seen unprecedented growth in the overall investments that we have made into equities, and some degree of paring down our expectation is par for the course. To begin with, the risk that one should watch out for is obviously very evident that globally, and especially in US, the inflation is a bit higher than one would have preferred. That obviously means that the liquidity, normalization, rather at some stage the Fed would start stopping printing of money, and that would obviously squeeze liquidity. And I think the key in that is what is the pace of that, right? And the pace of that would decide whether it is kind of calibrated, the markets react in a more calibrated fashion, or they end up being slightly more panic stricken. I think it will be more of the former, because everybody expects that, and therefore most portfolios should be gradually aligned to that. The other aspect is that, again, interlinked to this in the interest rate, I think some of you have already touched upon that. There is no doubt that the interest rates are going up from here. The quantum and pace of it is, which is a bit of something to be looked at, but interest rates would go up from here. The other important aspect is the oil prices. For a country like India, oil prices definitely can be a bit of a pain. We are a largely oil importing country, and therefore that has an impact on our fiscal deficit. Lastly, this virus, while things are relatively looking better, but hopefully, fingers crossed that both from health and economy angle, it does not really throw any surprise on us. So yes, I think overall inflation, interest rates, oil, and this virus hopefully should be under control, and that should be fine. Having said that, I think the solution in terms of lies in paring down one's expectation, having a longer term view, and being very focused on one's asset allocation in that sense.
Sure. Very wise words again, Subir, from you as well. So just to summarize, the understanding is that the outlook remains fairly optimistic from an Indian context. All of us agree that volatility could be higher, largely due to the global set of factors. To some extent, some of them at this point of time are very uncertain. We don't know the pace of rate hikes or the pace of liquidity withdrawal. We don't know how it is going to happen. And accordingly, there could be some reactions in the market. But if you're a long-term investor, you need to be disciplined and stay invested. And as all the three panelists opined, maybe it's a time to have a slightly moderate kind of expectations. But all three of them and most of us believe that equity as an asset class would still be a very good asset class if you're looking from a medium to long-term perspective. Let me come to you back to you, Rajesh sir. So basically for an investor, all this is fine. This is all important headlines which they need to keep in mind. But when they look at which segment they should be participating today, because if you see from a market, equity market, because you also deal quite a bit on equity markets, अगर हम वैल्यूएशंस का बात करें तो लार्ज कैप, मिड कैप, स्मॉल कैप में कोई बड़ा अंतर नहीं है. ऐसा कोई रिस्क रिवार्ड एक सेगमेंट में ज्यादा नहीं है कि आप बोल सकते हो कि आप यहाँ पे आ जाओ, यहाँ पे ज्यादा इन्वेस्ट कर लो आज के समय पे. लेकिन ग्रोथ अंडरटोन काफी रीजनेबली स्ट्रांग है. सो ऐसे सिचुएशन में what kind of funds do you think would make sense? Should somebody go for a combination of a funds which will invest across market caps, or should we stick to one segment of the market? Your views on this?
वेरी वेरी वैलिड क्वेश्चन राजेश सर. जो क्लाइंट को सबसे ज्यादा कंफ्यूजन होता है वेयर टू इन्वेस्ट, इन विच सेक्टर वन शुड इन्वेस्ट. जैसे 2020 के अंदर जब कोरोना कोविड पीरियड आया था तो वी आल्सो सजेस्ट कि आपको मिड एंड स्मॉल कैप में आना चाहिए, बट दिस इज नॉट द सिचुएशन राइट नाउ. अभी मार्केट में क्या वैल्यूएशन लार्ज कैप, मिड कैप, स्मॉल कैप सब काफी हद तक जस्टिफाइड भी हो गए हैं. तो अभी क्लाइंट को अपना गोल बेस्ड प्लानिंग बना के अपने को डाइवर्सिफाइड पैसा लगाना चाहिए. पहली चीज क्लाइंट को अच्छी तरह समझनी चाहिए, इन्वेस्टर्स को, जो रिटर्न्स पिछले 2 साल में आ गए हैं उनकी उम्मीद अब नहीं करें. वो एक तरीके से 10 साल में एक बार टाइम आता है, 1-2 साल का जैकपॉट जो लगता है, दैट हैज बीन ओवर. अब क्लाइंट को अपने आप को, वो बोलता है लोभ, ज्यादा लोभ नहीं करना तभी लाभ होगा. लोभ के ऊपर की मात्रा आप हटा दोगे तभी लाभ होगा. तो क्लाइंट को काफी अपने इन्वेस्टमेंट के साथ अपने ऑनेस्ट रहना चाहिए. 15-18% रिटर्न्स आर मोर देन एनफ. वो आराम से अगले 18-20 महीने में आएंगे. हम लोग जनरली रिटर्न्स की बात नहीं करते, लेकिन हम लोग फिर भी क्लाइंट को इसलिए बता रहे हैं कि पिछले 2 सालों में 50, 70, 80, 100% तक रिटर्न्स आए हैं. तो क्लाइंट को डाइवर्सिफाइड पोर्टफोलियो रखना चाहिए. आज की वैल्यूएशन पे क्लाइंट को लार्ज कैप, मिड कैप, स्मॉल कैप का कॉम्बिनेशन बना के रखना चाहिए. तीनों के कॉम्बिनेशन के साथ कुछ छोटा पार्ट अपना फॉरेन फंड या डेट फंड में रख सकता है. कॉम्बिनेशन होना चाहिए, तभी क्लाइंट के लिए अच्छा रहेगा. एंड एंड ऑफ द डे क्लाइंट को सारी प्लानिंग एज पर गोल बेस्ड करनी चाहिए, लॉन्ग टर्म प्लानिंग करनी चाहिए. ओनली देन क्लाइंट विल मेक वेरी गुड मनी. लेकिन अच्छी तरह, जो मैं दोबारा बोला, पिछले 2 साल के रिटर्न्स को बिल्कुल भी बेस मानकर इन्वेस्टर्स को इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना चाहिए. वो 10 साल में एक बार जर्नी आती है. तो डाइवर्सिफाइड इन्वेस्टमेंट करना चाहिए. राजेश सर,
एक फॉलोअप क्वेश्चन है सर इसी में. इक्विटी सेगमेंट के अंदर आप किस तरह के फंड्स का चयन करेंगे?
इक्विटी सेगमेंट में राइट नाउ, जैसे मैंने अभी आपसे कहा कि अपने को लार्ज कैप, मिड कैप और स्मॉल कैप तीनों के अंदर जाना चाहिए. तो अपने को मल्टी कैप फंड कैटेगरी में जाए तो बहुत अच्छा रहेगा, क्योंकि मल्टी कैप में तीनों कैटेगरी अपन कवर कर लेते हैं. फंड मैनेजर के पास रहता है कि रेस्ट 25% डिपेंड्स ऑन द मार्केट कंडीशंस कहां पर जाए. तो मल्टी कैप फंड्स काफी अच्छे रहेंगे, क्योंकि अभी टाइम ऐसा किसी पर्टिकुलर मिड या स्मॉल कैप पे बुलिश होने का नहीं है. तीनों के अंदर कॉम्बिनेशन बना के चलेंगे तो रिस्क अवॉर्ड रेशो काफी अच्छा रहेगा.
Thank you again. Very very important point. Diversified portfolio is the key, and possibly today in the equity context, it makes sense to look at more of funds which straddle across all the 3 segments of the market: large, mid, and small. So Bhujan sir, my next question is to you. Nippon India Multi-Cap Fund is one of the few funds which have actually maintained its multi-cap characteristics over these years. So despite the different categorization which has happened in the industry, this fund always has been a multi-cap kind of adopting a multi-cap kind of strategy, and for a fairly long period of time. So how do you see this product, and what are some of the standout features for this product, and which has helped from a long-term wealth creation perspective?
Excellent. Again, an excellent question in terms of investor, how to choose and fund. Okay, as Rajesh sir had mentioned that one should look at the multi-cap category holistically in the current market scenario. My say will be the same. Number one. Second important aspect is, see, अगर हम किसी भी फंड में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, हमेशा जनरली इन्वेस्टर की थॉट प्रोसेस होती है कि मुझे 5 स्टार रेटेड फंड चाहिए, मुझे 4 स्टार रेटेड फंड चाहिए. बट वो फंड का फिलोसॉफी, वो फंड एसेट मैनेजमेंट का फिलोसॉफी, उनका एक प्रोसेस है जिनको इन्वेस्टर कभी नहीं देखता है. in that context, advisory will definitely play an important role, in my opinion. So, in terms of Nippon India multi-cap fund, it has played a very vital role when it comes to my investors' portfolio. Okay, so I'm very confident about the fund process, fund management. Over a period of time, the reward they had given to my investor, and one definitely did not look at the past return, as Rajesh sir had mentioned कि पिछले 18-20 महीने का जो रिटर्न है उसको छोड़ के आप फंड को देखिए, फिर आपको फंड का कैपेबिलिटी क्या है वो पता चलेगा, उसी को आपको देखना है। आपका रिस्क रिवॉर्ड आपको कैसे मिलना है वो फंड के प्रोसेस से ही आपका तय होगा, फंड मैनेजमेंट के थॉट प्रोसेस से ही तय होगा। सी जनरली जैसे हम शादी करते हैं, बीबी है उसके साथ हमारा संसार है, लाइफ टाइम संसार है, वैसे ही हमने फंड मैनेजमेंट के साथ, फंड हाउस के साथ और फंड के साथ अगर वैसा व्यवहार किया, फंड हाउस को रेगुलर इनफ्लोस दिए, तब जाके वो हमें अच्छा रिवॉर्ड हमारे पॉकेट में दे पाएगा। माय से टू इन्वेस्टर इज प्लीज डोंट लुक एट द रिटर्न्स ऑफ द पोर्टफोलियो और द फंड ऑन अ रेगुलर बेसिस। कंसिस्टेंसी वही फंड दे पाएगा जिसका आपको प्रोसेसेस ठीक वो फॉलो कर रहा है, जो सेबी के नॉर्म अच्छे से फॉलो कर रहा है, और वही फंड आपके पोर्टफोलियो में अच्छा किरदार निभा पाएगा। एंड इन माय ओपिनियन this has done by Nippon Asset Management Company. I had been the part of the since Reliance Equity Opportunity, the name has been changed to Nippon India Multi-Cap Fund. I had seen it for my investor and the journey of the fund. So my say will be always need to look at the process and the asset management company. If they are not deviating the process, we should stick with that investment. If they are deviating with the process, we need to look for the different fund. If we had chosen the category, and as Rajesh sir had mentioned, nobody knows कि large cap अच्छा करने वाला है, mid cap अच्छा करने वाला है या small cap अच्छा करने वाला है। फंड मैनेजर को पता नहीं है, एडवाइजर को पता नहीं, इन्वेस्टर को पता नहीं है। सो वन शुड डेफिनेटली रिलाई ऑन सच कैटेगरी कि जहां पे उसको वो मिक्स प्रोडक्ट मिले और उसकी लॉन्ग टर्म जर्नी इन्वेस्टमेंट की अच्छी रहे और उसका वेल्थ क्रिएशन अच्छा हो। सो in that context, my say is Nippon India Multi-Cap Fund is one of the phenomenal fund.
Sure. Thanks, Bhushan sir. Again, काफी अच्छी चीज बताया आपने, जो इवैल्यूएशन के टाइम काफी काम आ सकता है सभी इन्वेस्टर्स को, क्या क्या देखना चाहिए एक फंड के अंदर। Subir, I'll come back to you for the final question of our discussion today. So this multi-cap fund actually has obviously seen a lot of continuity in terms of style, in terms of the fund management personnel behind it, and it is also never shied away from taking high conviction kind of bets and sticking through that even during a bit of near-term challenges. It's always stuck to that. So given that kind of a perspective in today's context, which are some of the key areas which this fund today is looking at, and in your view, are these the key themes which can work out well from a medium-term perspective?
So, like Bhushan said, right, you have to believe in the process and you have to be convinced about it, right? If you're aligned with that process, and that is the process which gives you the right outcomes. And like you briefly mentioned about that, it does not shy away from taking some strong conviction calls. And I've seen that, I think 18, 19, and especially after the pandemic, it had, a tough time, but it stuck to its guns, it stuck to its process. And people who stayed really enjoyed the benefit of it, the fruits of it. And the reason why we do that is we believe in the process. Some of the areas that it is focusing on is the consolidators. So the larger players in sectors where they believe that there is scope for consolidation, which would obviously result in, better profitability, weakened competition, which really, is something which is, and better chances of doing well for a stock. It also focuses on sectors which can see secular growth, right? And in this country, there are several sectors starting with, insurance and credit cards. So the whole financialization that even the budget spoke about, there is a lot of scope there. Right now the penetration in these things are still way below the global averages. Obviously, in post-pandemic, the country, and I think in the earlier questions, both Bhushan and Rajesh have mentioned about the China Plus One strategy. The focus on manufacturing, the domestic capex, focus is what the fund is again investing in. And lastly, what I see the fund doing is it had some of the exposure into sectors which are like out of home consumption, retail, hospitality, which were kind of unluckily beaten down in the post pandemic world. The sector has the fund has exposure to that, and we all know, right? We have heard about revenge tourism, the fact that people are hungry to go back to the normal lives, and we already are seeing signs of it. And the fund is well positioned even in that sector. So all in all, consolidators, domestic capex and manufacturing, secular growth story, as well as the normalization beneficiaries. I think these are the 4 or 5 key areas where the fund is focusing, or wherein which have real good, both medium to long term, success ahead of us if one stays invested.
Sure. Thanks, Subir. So very interesting points from a fund's positioning perspective, and possibly the ability to capture some of the likely opportunities going forward. So I'll take this opportunity once again to thank all three of you, Rajesh sir,
sir, I
Bhushan
just
sir.
want to add one more point.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
So इन्वेस्टर, इट इज अ हम्बल रिक्वेस्ट कि फंड मैनेजर कोई गॉड नहीं है, उससे भी गलतियां हो सकती है, वो भी एक इंसान है. बट अगर हम उसकी प्रोसेस पे बिलीव नहीं करते हैं, वो फंड हाउस के प्रोसेस पे बिलीव नहीं करते हैं, और अगर हम उनको रेगुलरली इन्फ्लोस नहीं देते हैं, he cannot rectify his mistake and he cannot generate the better return for the portfolio. So we need to keep belief as an advisor, we need to keep belief as an investor to the fund house, to the fund manager, so that he can bring the best reward for the investors portfolio. और उनको पता है कैसे मैनेज करना है. There are certain norms they need to follow given by the SEBI, और वहां पे भी परफॉर्मेंस लिंक स्कीम है, ये हमेशा ध्यान में रखिए. और उसको सोच के ही आप प्रोसेस ओरिएंटेड फंड हाउस में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए. निपॉन इंडिया मल्टी कैप फंड, इन माय ओपिनियन, इज द बेस्ट प्रोसेस ओरिएंटेड फंड. थैंक यू सर.
What a better way to end this whole discussion. Bhushan sir, thanks for that. To summarize very quickly what we learned from all the three eminent panelists we have today. So one, equity outlook is reasonably optimistic. Global volatility obviously is not completely controllable, but something which can be managed if we maintain our investment discipline, and possibly diversified strategies, multi-cap strategies today would make a lot of sense from equity allocations point of view. So once again, thanks a lot to all three of you, Rajesh sir, Subir sir, and Bhushan sir, for sharing wonderful words of wisdom. It will be useful for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Subir sir.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.